So this is the timeline of HIV and AIDS. I did this timeline I did the first two slides out of order, but just to explain like how it is. So in the 1970s, it was first discovered. Of course, it was around before, but it wasn't actually um out publicized. People knew about HIV and AIDS, but it really wasn't known until the 1980s. Uh, that's when there was a spike in people who had HIV and AIDS, and it all started because of the controversy. That's when people were becoming homophobic towards gay men, and that's when mostly gay men had HIV and AIDS, and that's when it became more known. So this is like a little bit of like background history of how it came to be known. So in the 1800s, there were studies that showed that African chimpanzees were carriers of HIV and since the very beginning. So before humans even got it, it was an animal born disease. Um and then the earliest recorded case was a man in the Belgian Congo who was infected with HIV due to the chimps. So during that time, that's when people would hunt chimpanzees for their meat and their skin. So people think that he got it through the blood of the chimpanzee, but it could have bef- people could have gotten it before it was actually like known. So there could have been way more cases than we know of. So, and then in 1983, Luke and other scientists discovered that the lymph glands were being harmed by the lymphocytes, and that was affecting the immune system. So, basically, HIV affects the immune system, and then once comes to AIDS, then that's when it becomes worse for people. Um, he also published an article of isolation of T lymphotrophic retrovirus from a patient at risk for AIDS. And that's the article name. And it basically like explains how the virus caused AIDS, and if it wasn't treated, it would turn into AIDS. So this is Robert Gallo. He also discovered AIDS and how it was found in the T cell lymphotrophic virus. It was found in the family of it. But here's a little fun fact that there was a lawsuit between Luke and Robert because they found basically the same thing of how it affects how AIDS was like what it was found in, and they had an argument about it and they took it to court, and it was a whole big thing. In 1986, they finally declared it as AIDS and how it was part of HIV, and it was how HIV, if it wasn't treated, how it can cause AIDS. And they were honored with many awards. They even got a Nobel Peace Prize. Luke and Robert officially declared AIDS, and yes. So here we have where they were testing the blood of the T lymphocytes that were infected from a patient, and they left it to incubate overnight. Um, and they had this to be tested to see if the virus could be purified against a sugar called sucrose. And in order to do this, they had to see if they were going to test positive for HIV. And that's how they found, like, this is a way of testing if people can have HIV. And that's how people would get tested back then. And they wrote an article of how they discovered it. And this is like their blood sample.